8:16 at K-Fire, Clay and Buck after 11, but first, Clay and Mike. How are you guys?
Good. How are we doing this morning?
Not the same Clay, by the way, folks, in case you're wondering. Wow, you managed to get Clay? I got Clay. Hey, Clay's on with me every Friday here with Guns in the 701. Yeah. So I guess the Second Amendment is going to begin to just not mean a thing. 20 attorneys general looking to ban selling ammo to civilians from Lake City, huh?
Well, one of the things about that is our favorite friend, Letitia James from New York, seems to be headlining these I guess you would say, attorney generals. As a matter of fact, they want to ban the 5.56 because it is the military grade, and it's just one of those more talking points. You know, it's a smaller bullet than the 308, and that used to be the standard bullet for the military, but until the Vietnam War. But you know, it was smaller and it was easier to carry. But it just comes right down to it, where they constantly are trying to do backdoor policies to, if they can't take away guns, they're going to try to take away ammo. And that's what it all breaks down to. Of course, they want a public discourse on this and to see about stopping companies from selling things, of course, to the civilians. And it's just one of those end arounds where they're basically trying to take away your rights through a backdoor policy.
Yeah, and I'm happy to say that North and South Dakota, Wyoming, none of those states are included in these 20 attorney generals that have filed this. And remember, they created the Office of Gun Violence Prevention here, I don't know, about 6-7 months ago. Another crazy thing from the Biden administration. And, of course, that's who they're appealing to, who is Stephanie Feldman. She's the director, another rabid anti-gunner. Thing is, when they go and send this letter and they say things, they don't understand what they're saying, of course. They ask the office to conduct an investigation in the contracting processes that led to the situation. You know, they think there's a situation, and to take action to ensure that military-grade and military-subsidized ammunition stays out of civilian hands. Well, we're the taxpayers. We pay for that. So essentially, we already own it, in my opinion. But they use these words, these code words, military-grade, military ammunition, to basically scare a person who really don't know what this is. Lake City ammunition has been around forever. And yeah, they sell the surplus to the civilian market, you and me, and it's not just 5.56. It's 30-06. It is 308. They produce a lot of ammo there in a lot of different calibers. 5.56 just happens to be one of them that happens to go into the AR platform on the small receivers. So this isn't new. They've been doing it for decades. Literally, Lake City has been around for decades and been a big part of the civilian marksmanship program as well, which we don't want to give them that hint if they don't know about it. So this is just another way to try and control the ammo supply, just like they did with firearms when they banned firearms recently from being sold to Israel, who we've sold to forever, but yet we're going to drop them for free over in the Ukraine. It just, everything they do is to impede the Second Amendment right here.
Oh, man. Guns of the 701 here on K-Fire. So from time to time, you see it on the cable news channels and stuff. You see the flash mob robbing. Well, one jewelry store worker was able to fight back. What happened there?
Well, over in Oakland, California, a guy was, he noticed a car parking the wrong direction on the road. Two guys getting out, putting on ski masks in California. I'm sure they were on their way to some sort of skiing festivity.
Yeah, probably was pretty cold there that day, right?
Yeah. Well, they weren't. They came running in and they says, don't move or we'll shoot. Well, he decided, you know what, I'm not taking a chance. He shot back with his own legally owned pistol and ran them off. A couple of them actually did get hit. The perpetrators did get hit, and then one of the third guy, the getaway driver, actually ran into one of his compadres. That was probably a smart move on his part too.
That would have been funny.
The best part about it is that the police's response was, you know what, you did the right thing. And if they come back again and try the same thing, well, then just defend yourself because you know what, you're doing the right thing. So that's what we need to hear. We need to hear that, you know what, we don't have to be victims. We can defend ourselves, and that's what we should do.
Oh, absolutely. And surprisingly, this comes out of California. Now, remember, the guy who did this and actually defended himself talked about how they had extended magazines in the Glock and even had a drum magazine in the other firearm. Remember, California has already banned those. You can't have a, quote, high-capacity magazine in California. I bet you're not supposed to even have probably, I'm guessing it was an AR. I didn't really get that far into the story, but I would imagine that he had maybe an AR or something like that, possibly too. And I bet they're illegal as far as I know in California as well. So I mean, when you look at everything that they've passed out there, their utopia quote gun rules. Guess what? They're not working. The criminals don't follow the law, hence why they're a criminal. So good for these guys. Good for the Oakland police, though, that they recognize this and said, yeah, we're not going to cite this guy. We're not going to arrest this guy. They did take his firearm until the investigation is over. And by the way, that would even happen here. If you get into a situation here of self-defense and you have to pull your concealed carry firearm and you actually have to shoot it, hit or kill somebody, you're going to be investigated regardless, and they're going to take that firearm until that's done. But that's pretty much standard procedure right now.
Well, bring on the investigation. I mean, that's fine. But in this case, I mean, this was clearly somebody defending their store.
Oh, absolutely.
But you're right about California being kind of a surprise that, this sounds like something that might happen in Texas or something like that, where they praise the owner of the store. California, you'd kind of expect them to arrest him and charge him with a crime. So that is a bit of a shocker.
And you figure Oakland has been a pretty battle zone for quite a while. And you know what? The police, like you said, it's big kudos to them for seeing a legal gun owner. And that guy had to go through a lot of hoops in California to be a legal gun owner for his own store.
Oh, yeah.
Keeping, basically putting a signal out there that's like, you know what, he's not going to be a victim.
I wonder how long before they all have bulletproof glass in their jewelry stores so that people can't smash and grab.
Well, I had when I was over in Britain years ago, they have a lot of different places that cater in a lot of money, especially gambling establishments. They have legal gambling over there. They have not only the bulletproof glass, the doors that will shut down so that you can't get in or out, but also retaining walls that pop up between the tellers and the would-be shooters, basically to keep them in there until the police come and get them. And that it seems to work. But yeah, it's only a matter of time before we get back to it's like the Detroit days, going to a gas station where the guy's encased in glass in there and it's impossible to even hear him. But yeah.
I remember watching a video not too long ago, a cell phone store where a robber came in and they managed to get out a back door and lock him in. Gates came down, and so he's shaking the whole thing, hoping to get out, and nope. So yeah, I mean that's always fun to see those guys have to get what they have coming to them.
You'd always want to have a thought bubble above them at that time so you could see what they were thinking when they're locked in. Like, I think I made some bad choices.
Pop-up video, just like the old VH1 days.
Exactly.
It's funny.
VH1, yeah.
Wasn't planning on mentioning VH1 in any context today, let alone during Guns in the 701, but more proof anything can be weaved into any conversation if you do it just right.
Yeah. Here we are.
Mike and Clay, more with them coming up. It's Guns in the 701. More on the way here on K-Fire. 841 at K-Fire at Dakota Talk after 9. Senator John Hoeven, Scott Bachmeyer, and more due up with Michael Bell. Clay and Buck after 11, but Clay and Mike first for Guns in the 701. Gentlemen.
Yeah. We just don't get paid as good as Clay and Buck.
Nah, probably not. Probably not.
No.
Who the heck does? But, well.
Hey, I got to throw something out here quick, Todd.
Yeah.
So I keep getting questions about this. And yes, everybody, we did draw for the gun, an AR-10. It was a Noreen 30-06 for the Farm Bureau raffle that was going on in Grant and Sioux County. So we do have a winner. I'll just say congratulations to Yvonne, and we did that New Year's Eve night. So just so everybody knows, yes, we did have a winner, and we thank everybody for participating.
Well, speaking of ARs, if you want to make an AR and you live in Chicago, it's no wonder this guy ended up in Wyoming to do it.
Yeah, I found this. It was an interesting story, so I thought, got to talk about this. I mean, the guy escaped Illinois, Chicago in particular, so you got to just love that. He moved out to Wyoming about 21 years ago, and basically he just loved it out there because you can hunt, there's freedom, it's business friendly. And he based his company out of Cody, Wyoming. Bighorn Armory, guys. They are making the AR 500. They claim it's the most powerful semi-automatic AR cartridge on the market. They call it the 500 Auto Max cartridge, and it has a half-inch diameter bullet. So think about that. You got a half-inch chunk of lead being fired out of a pretty big rifle. I think that sounds like just a lot of fun to me.
Well, Clay, I know what I want for my Christmas list, then.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Maybe we need to talk to these guys. Maybe we need a new sponsor with the show, right?
There you go.
There you go.
But I mean, when you think about a bison, you can use this on buffalo. For most of us, we still call them buffalo out here. It'll punch right through them. So that's a lot of energy and a lot of velocity leaving that barrel and doing the job, because a buffalo is not an easy creature to take down. But yeah, he left Chicago. He got out of there, moved out to Wyoming, and basically this opportunity come up because he was talking with a neighbor of his, and he'd had a 500 Smith & Wesson. If you've never shot the 500 Smith & Wesson, guys, I highly recommend it. It's a lot of fun. There's a lot of power there. It's literally a blast to shoot. And they said, hey, we should just make a lever action rifle chamber for the Smith & Wesson. And that's not uncommon. There's a lot of lever action guns that are chambered in pistol cartridges. The 45 Colt comes to mind right off the top of my head. And now Henry's also doing a 357 and a 44 Magnum. So this isn't uncommon. You can find them all over now. He founded the company Bighorn Armory in 2007, and they started making their first lever-action rifles. And then a couple years later, basically they decided, you know what, maybe, just maybe, we ought to move into something else. And that's when they kind of come up with the idea for this 500 Auto Max. And basically, it's a well-built gun. It's going to be able to be used anywhere on anything. It's got a longer barrel, of course, so you're pushing that 50 caliber bullet out there. You're getting most of the energy that's coming out of that and putting it right into that cartridge. That's what's great about it. And when you shoot from a pistol, you got a short travel distance. There's even a little jump usually before it hits the barrel coming out of the cylinder or even out of the action, and you're losing a lot there. So this is great to see this. It comes out, and it's going to do the job. They're basically finding a lot of people are taking it to Alaska with them. That would make sense. You got grizzly bears and moose, and it's going to stop them dead in their tracks. And do you want to add anything to this, Mike?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's one of those things where it is tailored towards, like you said, the big game. And you got to make sure, you can't go up into Alaska with a 22 and expect to do well. So, yeah, you want to make sure you have exactly what you need, and, of course, the right tool. And it sounds like the right tool for that type of thing.
Well, if you're going to drive into Canada with that assault weapon, you better hope that Prime Minister Trudeau doesn't find you, because they're on the 4th anniversary of their confiscation / buyback program. I guess if you have a bunch of spare ones, you could sell them and make some money, but
they can't have any. Right? I mean, this ain't the first time Canada has been restricting firearms. You always had to buy what they call a non-resident firearms license, and I believe the last time I knew of anyone that went up there, you had to check it at the border. They take it, from its case, and then they'll ship it or get it to your place of destination where you're going hunting, and then you can have it, and then it's the same thing. So it's always been a hassle, and anyway, especially for someone crossing the border. But yeah, Trudeau, he's when he ran, he said, nope, I'm not going to take any guns. I don't want to do that. He ran on that. And, of course, like any liberal politician, he lied to try and get the votes, and this was just another thing about that. And they come up with their buyback program. They call it the firearms buyback program, the FBP. And they did it, here it comes, they did it because it was going to be for the safety of the Canadian people. Their budget, guys, $5.4 million with 24 employees to try and implement this. Now, this was supposed to go into effect really hard between the period of 2020 and 2023. It was supposed to go into effect, and it really didn't. They ended up, they weren't getting a lot of cooperation. A lot of the municipalities and provinces says, no, we're not using our resources. So then they went looking for private contractors to do the job. Doesn't say whether they got any takers on that for bids, but nonetheless, they weren't able to implement it. So they extended it out to December, and I believe it's January 7th or something right now in 2024. And it's also going to be now extended to put in phase 1 till 2025. So they know they have a problem here. And I've always had this, I don't know, you look at government when they say, oh, it's a buyback. How can you buy back something that you've never owned? The government don't own our firearms. The government don't own the Canadians' firearms. They bought them, legally purchased them, and legally possess them.
And they want to buy them back.
The government wants to do it. Now they want to buy them back. The buyback term is just crazy to me. What do you think, Mike? I think
a lot of times that the buyback program is geared towards why don't you take your grandpa's rifle or whatever like that when he's not looking and go sell it so that he can be safe. That's the way I always think it is. They're looking for the liberal members of the family, and they're talking about not just destroying it, but they're talking about major and minor components, of course, rendered inoperable and no spare parts salvageable. So reusable or resellable. So they're talking about complete destruction. And we've seen this before. And I do like that they have pieced together this with the help of some of the members of government of New Zealand. Because when I think about government, I think about New Zealand. Because they have had such a wonderful thing with their gun buyback program as well. And, and even on a small thing, basically the provinces, you're right, the provinces said, no, we don't want to do this. We're not sending our officers out to put themselves in danger to have citizens, of course, take guns from citizens that are legal. I mean, take guns away from criminals. That's what the job of the law enforcement is. Not to take it from us legal citizens and, of course, in Canadian citizens as well. So it just boils right down to is just, like you said on earlier stories, backdoor programs in order to sound like we're protecting the citizens, but we're really making us less safe.
Well, plus if you start sending local officers out, you may end up encountering that mad person that will tell you to go to hell and may even shoot at you. Hopefully miss. But, I mean, why put them in that situation where they could be in danger? I mean, why even go there?
Absolutely. And when you start doing that and, when you're overbearing, federal, central government does this and then wants the little guys out here doing it all the way down to probably our local sheriffs, you can see that here. That's when you force really good guys to do bad things because there comes a tipping point where you're just not going to put up with it anymore. And luckily here we have the Second Amendment. And you want to look at what you want to call a public discourse on this. Illinois, they had their assault weapons ban go into effect after a bunch of court cases, which are still moving through the court system. But hardly anybody, I think the last estimate I've seen was 1% of people actually complied with that in Illinois. So I think that's funny. Non-compliance is the biggest statement you can
And the
make.
gun they pulled off the street was one that probably wasn't getting used in the first place. So what have they accomplished? But
Exactly.
and we can look to the north and see what they did to the trucking industry a while back and realize that and from what I hear and you correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I mean isn't the whole anti-gun thing more of an Eastern Canada versus the West? The West tends to be a little bit more conservative. The East a little bit more liberal. Isn't that kind of what's going on?
That's how I took that when I was
Except for
reading about
Vancouver, maybe, I suppose. But,
Yeah, it's more of an East-West thing, just kind of like our state, isn't it?
Yeah, it mirrors the United States.
Although I guess I haven't been to the Calgary Stampede, and I don't know. Maybe it's full of rainbows and unicorns and stuff. I have no idea.
Who knows? Who knows?
And now I've been disinvited from Canada. for that. Guns in the 701. You're still doing the stuff on Wednesday nights, right?
Yep, absolutely. Wednesday night,
correct.
6 o'clock p.m. on the Mountain Standard Time. Of course, you got 7 o'clock Central. Mike and myself and Vance we've taken that over. But Jamie launched a new little segment with Guns and 701 called 701 Nation. And that's he did his first episode last night at 7 Central. And I don't know what his plans are for the next one, but we will keep you tuned. Of course, you can find us at our website, gunsandthe701.com. And every single Friday, right here on K-Fire, best podcast on iHeart. And we love being on, Todd, so we appreciate it.
Well, absolutely. Well, they wanted me to support a podcast, and I can't think of a better one than Guns in the 701. So thank you, guys. We'll talk to you next Friday if I don't happen to talk to you before.
See you later.
Sounds good. Thanks. Have a great weekend.
All right, you too. You too.